my name is Beth MacDonald Stone. I'm an avid knitter and knitwear designer living in Bermuda. I hope you all had a really good holiday season, whatever you celebrate, and that you've relaxed a bit and got in a good amount of knitting. I don't feel I've relaxed that much. I'm kind of looking forward to maybe a few more quiet days. It's been really busy, in a good way. It's been really busy, and yeah, my introverted self is ready for a break from the holidays. How crazy is that? We'll do the usual with talking about sort of the featured pattern, which I'm about to publish. It should be published in Ravelry. Go through whips and finish objects, probably the other way around. A little life stuff and all that good content. Also talking a little bit about Bermuda too, Christmas in Bermuda. So buckle up, enjoy, I hope. Have your knitting, have your cup of whatever, and let's get into it. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining. Christmas is still in our household. We can see a little Christmas wreath and a little Danish elf, I think they call him Jamieson. And the Christmas tree, one of our trees is right there. We have very old artificial trees because every once in a while, every other couple of years, there's a problem with the fresh trees coming into Bermuda. So about 10, 12 or more years ago, all the trees had to be destroyed because they had bugs in them. So they didn't even leave North America. And everyone was kind of scrambling. So I went out and bought my first artificial tree, which felt very sacrilegious, but you know what? I really liked it. And since then, there's been other problems with trees coming in. Like this year, one container overheated, and so all the trees arrived totally singed. And no big deal for us. We just pull out the old one. The old one's so old that the lights had gone. So this year I clipped off all the old lights, which took a long time. They're really, really embedded in there, and just strung them up with, whatever, good as new. Who cares? We just keep it going. So it's definitely been a really good investment, and kind of like it. And then I can do Christmas whenever I want. This year I kind of wanted it up early, and we've really enjoyed it. And I'm going to be really sad to take it all down. But anyways, probably in a week or so. I'm not rushing it. I love coming out to my husband wakes up earlier and he always puts the Christmas tree lights on, and it's just so nice to come out to the kitchen and get a coffee, and it's twinkling and festive, and our trees are all filled with ornaments that friends have made or we've picked up on our travels, and so it's just really fun. They're really personal, and I really like it, so I'll keep it up as long as I can, and it's not going to die, so I can keep it up as long as I want. I don't have to worry about the needles dropping. Anyway, so pattern highlight. So the pattern that I'm releasing for the beginning of January is the Calabash sweater, and this one was really cool. I think it's a really fun process knit and a really great, what knit to wear, so product knit too. But the process knit of it is really interesting because I was really bound and determined to learn about ladder back to card. I just totally blanked. Ladder back to card technique. I had looked online in the past and found it really confusing. The projects that I was working on probably weren't the best projects. They were probably a little too complicated anyways. It just didn't click. Anyways, while I was working on this design, I kind of had a eureka moment. It was really strange, and I just sort of made sense. And I went and I looked at, another YouTube podcast tutorial, and it completely, my concept was completely what they were trying to say, which a year or so before just didn't make sense to me at all, where I kind of had worked it all out. And I really think it had a lot to do with that this was fairly linear, so I wasn't trying to do anything too organic in shape, with color work, mixed with ladder back to card, which I think is what I tried to do before, and it just broke my brain. So this was really fantastic. So if you're interested in ladder back to card, it's a technique where when you have the longer float, so when you get down to these bottom bobbles, which I'm calling Calabash. Calabash are gourds, There's the Calabash tree, which is a really big kind of umbrella shaped tree, big leaves, and they have these huge sort of round gourds. They're green, which you can also dry out and use for sort of flower arranging or just sort of like tabletop arranging. And when they dry out, they turn very brown, but they're green and heavy. And when I bought I think I told this story before, but so apologies for repeating my stories. But when I bought my first car, which was like 19 years old, third or fourth hand car, I was so thrilled with it. And I lived in an apartment up in Somerset, which is the West End. And I just thought I should park my car under this beautiful tree, and this beautiful tree was going to protect it. Well, I stupidly parked it under a Calabash tree. And my then boyfriend, now husband, Jeff, came over one day and he's like, your car is getting really pockmarked. I'm like, what? Anyways, it was the Calabashes were dropping on it and leaving like total dents in the roof and, the bonnet. And that was really funny. So anyways, I tried so hard to take care of my very old car to keep it going. And it did keep going. And then I ended up giving it to another friend whose brother was a mechanic. And that car went on for I think till it was 26, 27 years old, which is amazing and totally unheard of in Bermuda because of our salt. Everything rusts. But that thing just kept going and it was fabulous. Anyway, so that's a Calabash. Calabash being a gourd. So the idea here is all these are little baubles are calabashes. Now the baubles aren't worked as traditional baubles where you sort of make it all in one stitch area. This is done over, if I remember correctly, sort of a 5-row repeat. It's really simple. It's just sort of like you get to the increased stage and you kind of make multiple of stitches. And again, I knit all my designs so long ago. I was working on these designs at Easter time, so can't really remember the exact details, but yeah, you sort of increase and then you knit a few rows with the stitches increased in the color work, and then you just rapidly decrease. So it's really simple, but it's really effective, and it makes sort of a nice three-dimensional texture bauble. And then because I wanted them to be staggered, like gourds hanging from a tree, there are some longer floats, which could be nerve-wracking, or with the ladder back jacquard, it's not so nerve-wracking. And what happens is you basically pick up a false stitch so that you can have something that catches it. But if you can see, I can put my finger right behind where it's caught. It's just so fantastic and liberating, and I can't wait to knit other people's sweaters that I had been sort of turned off of before because of the long floats. My mannequin is a bit wonky. Anyways, so this now is super liberating. I'm really pleased. In the pattern, there's a link to the I think quite a good YouTube tutorial. But I think because it's such a sort of simple linear pattern, you can really wrap your head around both and not struggle and then gain a really amazing new technique. So yeah, so I also in this pattern gave some options, and of course I sort of feel like in a lot of patterns you don't necessarily need to write out the options because of course everyone can modify them. Primarily, my first one, just what I'm wearing now, was a thin, short-ish, like a half-length sleeve and tunic length. Let's see if I can. So tunic length, so longer length, which I was craving at that time. And I loved this. This one, as I said, is my first one, and I used La Bien-Aimée Sport for the main color, which I believe is in Madeleine, and Spincycle dyed in the wool Rosy Maple for the yoke here, and I thought that was really successful. It feels like, or it appears to me that sort of light is hitting these the motif, which is what I was going for with the color choices. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, so this first option is the more fitted sleeve and the tunic length. The second option, I wanted a fuller sleeve because I wanted a more winter version where this is quite light. This is perfect for like today here in Bermuda. It's probably in the low 60s. So it's not hot, it's not cold, but it's not hot, and you need, it's nice to have a little shell over. But I also wanted something that maybe I could wear skiing or on a really cold day. So this is Jamieson and Smith Heritage, so held double. And the Heritage, I got these cones from, oh my gosh, the Woolly Thistle, number of years ago. It's one of my favorite. Oh, there's Luna. Yeah, I love the Heritage line. It's not quite a fingering, it's kind of even lighter than a fingering. So held double, it does make a nice sport weight, but it is dense too, so this is a really nice, really warm version. So on this one we've got fuller sleeves, and I did more of a cropped with a split high-low hem here. And again, mix and match. Put the cropped with the shorter sleeves, with the fitted sleeves, do tunic with the fuller sleeves, or put on your own spin on whatever you want. There's yardages in the pattern for both options. I think we all kind of probably know our sort of basic yardages required for our size and how we want. So if you wanted to have the longer tunic and the fuller sleeve, you just add a little bit more yarn and you'll be totally fine. But it's really fun. It's a really fun knit, and like I said, I was just so thrilled to learn about the ladder back jacquard, and it's absolutely not as daunting as I originally thought, which is amazing because, like I said, I feel like I'm free now to try a lot of the patterns that I've always really liked, and thought the floats would be a problem, because I also don't like when you twist your floats around. I've had a lot of problems when you can see the blips, and I don't like that either. So yeah, the one thing I would say with this, with ladder back jacquard, I think it is more successful, especially when you're terminating it, which is basically when you just knit the false stitch and knit it together with the stitch beside it, which is sort of like a real, face stitch. Because you're knitting them together, I would recommend, and I think it's, and it kind of goes for all of color work, it works a little bit better if you use a more of a rustic wool or a woolen spun wool, because they are more likely to bloom and fill in any gaps. And you can't see it here at all because this is very classically a rustic yarn designed for color work, and it's absolutely filled in. You can maybe see, not really at all, but again, it worked quite well on this because this was not a perfectly smooth yarn, and so it's great, and it doesn't show the knit two together. It's like there's one here, whoop, but yeah, it doesn't, maybe slight dimples, but again, the more traditional color work yarn will be helpful with the actual color work, and will also help with the ladder back jacquard terminating points. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Anyways, oh, and the one other thing, sorry, I know I keep on saying one more thing, but one more thing is it is sort of a reverse stockinette sweater. So when you're doing the yoke, between the color work, it is pearls of the main color. It's not really a big deal. It's super easy. And then what I do is I give instructions should you wish to then turn the sweater inside out using a German short row or short row of your choice. Then you can work the rest of it in a knit stitch if you prefer. I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't really care about if it's a knit or a purl, but I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. So the option is there for you. And I don't think you'll mind doing the pearls from here up, because I found this yoke so engaging, and I think the testers did too. I know Noelle Nelson from the Tangled Stitch, she really enjoyed this, and now she's on to her miles and miles of stockinette, and it is what it is. But this is the fun part. I mean, who are y'all kidding? Anyways, so this is great. Calabash sweater. It's on Ravelry. When you see this, I'll have it up, and I'll do my usual 20% off for the first week. So yeah, I hope you love it. And I'll just do a little bit of a switcheroo for the next, just for the mannequin, and we'll go on to the next, which will be what's off my needles. Okay. Okay, back again. So, what's off my needles? This was one that I was working on, I think the last time I podcasted. Oh, it's a big crease on it. I wore this out on Christmas Eve. I wonder how I got that huge crease. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I was working on this my last podcast. It's still unnamed. I'm kind of still thinking about fruit and Bermuda fruit, and I'm thinking low quad. But we'll see if that sticks. This was a really fun one to knit. I was really wanting a kind of a slightly boxy with a really long arm side here, just with a square, like a very straight sleeve, exaggerated hem, exaggerated collar. I just wanted something really kind of cool and simple to wear, you know, with a skirt, and then ballet flats. And I just thought, and if I wanted to put like a turtleneck underneath or whatever, or even a button-down shirt, it would just really have that nice, really flowy drape. And I love it. It totally won in all the aspects there. So Christmas Eve was actually really chilly here, which was really nice because I was a bit worried. We had another warm spell before Christmas. So I thought, oh darn, I'm not gonna be able to wear my new sweater, but worked out perfectly, and I loved it and it felt so great. So yeah, so this is a new design. I really would like to knit it also in sort of camo colors, or yeah, because I do think there's, or brown and brown or something like that, because I do think there's kind of like a little bit of a leopard print, but it also kind of baubles or hanging fruit. I'm not sure. Anyways, I really like it. It's really fun. It was really fun to knit. When knitting it, I used the Lamb Kid or Diamond Lane Birdie in Pop Rocks, and also in Plaid is my favorite color. So those are the two that I used. And I promise I will show my office and how I store yarn and everything. And when I show that to you, you'll see I've got a shelf of cones, whether they're Holst Supersoft or Woolyknit or Jamieson and Smith. I love having cones in a ton of colors because they're really good stabilizers, workhorses. I use it to build up to whatever gauge I want, to whatever texture I want with these sort of lovely supporting actors, really. So, so that's exactly what I did. So I used a very hot pink from Woolyknit, British 4-ply, and that was called Fandango Pink. And with the Plaid is my favorite color, I used a Holst Super Soft in the color Brandy, and they're so similar. I mean, really all it did was just push it, like the Fandango Pink pushed the intensity of Pop Rocks a bit, and the Brandy pushed the orange just to be a bit more of a red orange, or sort of yeah. Anyways, so I was really thrilled with that. They're vibrant colors together, but there's enough variation that you can see the motif, but it's not sort of blinding. And I kind of wanted that. I wanted that kind of really fun shock of color, but not with really bold contrast in the pattern. So it's a low contrasting as it is, but a vibrant sweater. So I thought it was really fun. It was really festive, but I'll have no problem wearing that. Like, that'll be great with jeans. That'll be great with a denim skirt. I do wear skirts and dresses a lot more than jeans. You know, it's great with like a long tunic and leggings. Like and I don't see that as just Christmas at all. So I'm probably gonna write it. The pattern's written up. I've got to send it to the tech editor. So that's sort of my next thing for the tech editor to do, and I'll work on that in the new year. I would imagine at this time of year that probably won't get released until the fall. But if you have any strong opinions, otherwise, let me know. I'm flexible. I don't really, whatever. So Unnamed Design, I love it. Kind of thinking the low quad sweater, but I could put more time and thought into the name for it. Yeah, and I hope you love it. I really like it, and actually looking at it makes me want to wear it because it's really, the Birdie makes this amazing flat but squishy fabric. I don't know if that, like flat, matte, almost sort of feels felted. It's very satisfying. It's very cozy. It's very very appealing to wear. And that was a real treat, I think. It's knit at a more open gauge. Again, I can't remember, maybe 18 stitch gauge. So it goes by really quickly. Not that speed is important, but sometimes it's fun. But so it's not dense. Like there's a lovely drape to it. It's not stiff. And I really wanted, that was kind of my look, that sort of cool chic, but slightly schlumpy look. That's what I was going for. And I think it was really successful. So yeah, so that's that. And again, next to go to the tech editor. Also over Christmas, I love Advent knitting. I think it's so much fun. And it's a month where I usually don't get a whole lot of my design work in or my own design knitting in, because I really am totally content to spend time with Advent knitting. So the first one that I worked, well, I have two. So the first one I'll talk about, I mean, I worked on them at the same time because they came out the same days. Anyways, was Woolens and Nosh do amazing self-striping sock yarn. I love it, and so excited. And I think I was kind of tense because I was knitting this, it starts down here, and this year it came out with a really cool pattern. So you get this fun chevron, and it's on both, so it sort of would go on either side of your leg. I knitted on the smaller needle, and I think I was kind of tense, so it was really small and rather tight, and I knew I couldn't get it on my feet at all. But then I thought, oh my gosh, I would love these in fingerless mittens. So that's what I did. So I went up to, I think, the 20th day or 21st, and then I just, these little chevrons are duplicated. So there's like 2 repeats here, and I just set those on holder and cast it on 8 stitches. I originally did 4 and then realized it was going to be too tight, so went back, ripped back down, went to 8 stitches in sort of a very casual thumb gusset. I mean, there was no increases here. It's literally, this is just a tube from here down. Added the 8 stitches here, put these on hold. So this is the sort of one pattern section on hold. Knit, knit, knit this side. And it was great. The stripes didn't really change dimension, which I was a bit concerned at because it'd be a smaller diameter. It didn't. I didn't use the last color, which was sort of a white or off-white, just because I'm very conscious that I'm kind of, if you're on the subway or something like that, not in Bermuda, but if traveling, getting about, I just thought a white stripe would be maybe not the smartest thing. And I was also kind of getting high as I wanted. And then I just did 6, started with 16 with the contrast color, rows of 2x2 rib, and ended with 16 rows of 2x2 rib in the contrast color, and then picked up and did the same thing, picked up the 8 stitches. I think I actually picked up 2 more on either side and then quickly decreased those, just so that the pull for this little grouping of stitches wasn't creating some strange holes here, because it kind of does go off to the side. So I'm pretty sure I, instead of just 8, I think I picked up 12 and then really quickly just decreased the extra 4 and knit the thumb. And I'm so happy with it, and I can't wait to wear them. I'll talk more about it, but I'm hoping to go to Vogue New York VKL in January, and these will definitely be in my suitcase, and I think they'll be amazing. Also in my suitcase, and I'll leave this on because I think it kind of looks good together. So let me just go back to this. So this Woolens and Nosh Advent mini skeins, love, love, love them. And that was really fun. And the design that you're supposed to use for the sock is called Peace and Joy socks, which I just made into fingerless mitts. But the Peace and Joy socks, I'll definitely do that pattern. I'll just use a bigger gauge, bigger needle, and just hopefully not pull so hard, because I hopefully won't be so tense. But anyways, it is what it is. The other one that I worked on and was the grand opening shawl by Telly Bean Knits, and who is Stephanie Lotven. And I knit Stephanie's mystery mystery knit along cowl at Halloween and loved it. It was so much fun. And it was a really great way of using some of my minis and stash and stuff like that. So I was totally hooked when I saw that she was coming out with a Christmas Advent knit along for a shawl. So yeah, sign me up. And I had ordered from Chelsea Yarns her lovely New York Advent mini schemes. So this is it, and I think it's fabulous. It's one of those things as you're knitting it and the different colors and stuff like that, where I was sort of at some point thinking, oh God, like this is kind of looking a bit chaotic, but it's very much like what Kay Fassett says, just keep adding color, and then you really can see the color cohesion or the color palette cohesion that Christina's working on when you really have all 25 in there, and it just totally works out. But of course, when you've got maybe like 8 or 9 and it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on? That can be, I don't know what that can be. It's a ride, isn't it? And I love it. And each sort of section is fairly manageable. There was these sort of the middle of the month where you're doing both directions, and those were hard to get done in a day. And in the end, because I had to travel up, which I'll talk about, I had to have a little bit of travel time. So I was maybe 2 days over. I think I finished on the 27th, which no big deal, whatever. Yeah, so it's fairly manageable, bite-sized pieces, all quite interesting, alternating days between sort of like a garter row and something with a little pattern. And some of the patterns were more simple, some are more complex. I'm a big believer in using stitch markers because I do tend to wander in my thoughts, and that's cool. Like I, love to daydream or get lost in whatever, or a good podcast. So stitch markers keep me on the straight and narrow, and because there's nothing worse than finishing a whole row and then having to tink back because you, as we would say in Bermuda, you went into a heavy mice, which heavy daydream. So yeah, so there's lovely little stitch patterns. I really liked them a lot, and what a great almost sampler to practice and to learn. So anyways, I think these look great. So I'm thinking for New York, this will be my shawl and these will be my mitts, and hopefully it's not too crazy cold that I can enjoy. But yeah, so those were really, really, really successful, and I'm really pleased with those. So yay. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think that's it. I guess just while I'm finishing on the Advent stuff, I had 2 other Advents, and I would really recommend all of them. I think this year, gangbusters, all of them. So the Woolens and Nosh, it's quite amazing that the Fingerless mitts only took up half of each skein, so I am knitting just very plain. So I've got, unfortunately, a lot of doctor's visits. I'll talk about that in a bit. So I just wanted a really plain, simple sock. So I'm doing it the other direction, so you can see the sort of, the off-white's so tiny here. Anyways, yeah, you can see this is going to be growing with me, and I ordered an extra one of the contrasting colors for heel, toes, and cuff, which is great because I'll need that to do my second set of socks. So I'm super psyched to have matching socks as well as mittens. Yeah, that's great. So I'll work on that. The other Advents I did was the Ocean Loops stitch marker Advent, and this was fantastic. I would highly recommend it. I don't know, I might do them every bunch of years because I don't think I'll need stitch markers for a good while, but I'm quite neurotic, so I don't lose my stitch markers. I'm pretty uptight about, anyways. But they were wonderful. So every day you open a different stitch marker. So there's like this lovely sort of acorn and little bead. There is a lovely sort of amethyst looking bead one day, a funny little adorable pom-pom, a little glass sort of snow globe, bunches of different, that looks like there's some sort of pearls, maybe peacock pearls in there of whatever sort. And then I asked for the cord to hang it on. So that was I would highly recommend follow Ocean Loop Studio. I think it's really cool. I'm going to, a little teacup too, which is adorable. How to show you. A little teeny teacup. Yeah, so these were really fun and really special, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend this advent. So that was really fun. The other one I did, and it's because I like to have woollier knits for color work. So I did a 12 skein advent from the Woolly Mammoth. Oops, and I've kind of damaged the box, but I was trying to keep it in here to show you. So this was just beautiful. So this is all Woolly Mammoth yarn, and she uses a 50% Jacob, 50% Blue Faced Leicester yarn mix, and then I'll take all these out now that I've talked to you guys and put them in a jar with all of my other Woolyknit stuff so that I can just pick from this for color work and love it. So that was really also fun. Woolly Mammoth yarn is spectacular, and the colors are really, really elegant and yeah, really, really nice to work with. So that was another joy. So I can take that apart now. Thank you so much. Yeah. So that was kind of all the off my needles. What I'm working on a few things. As I talked before in I think in my last podcast, my concept of what I call the Burmy basic. I didn't realize, look, I do have a real strong color palette. Isn't that funny? Anyways, so the Burmy basic sweater is something that I've been working on for probably about 2 years. I think I took a lot of last year off of it because it's kind of a mammoth task. It's a simple theory, and mathematically it worked out quite simply, with a few snafus, and I learned, I refined my equation more, and I think I'm 100% there, which is really exciting. So the concept is that I will have one basic sweater pattern that's going to go from a 12 stitch gauge to a 28 stitch gauge. Now I think they're probably going to be sold independently with sort of like a bundle option. If you've purchased a few, then you get the rest for a discount or free. I've got to work that out and see what I can do on Ravelry. That is kind of confusing. But the idea is basically you could go anywhere, a yarn store, a festival, whatever, fall in love with yarn. I fell in love with this Felix, say, when I was at an event, at one of the offshoot events during the Rhinebeck weekend. I totally fell in love with this Felix. I wanted to use it, hold it double. So the idea is you fall in love with yarn, and then this Burmy basic, it will give you a pattern. So fall in love with the yarn, knit a swatch gauge, get a basic idea on what gauge is the optimal for that fabric that you want to make. And then you would marry it to the Burmy basic. So it'll be in 2 stitch gauge increments. It'll be 12 stitch gauge for 4 inches, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, and 28. That's the window, 12 to 28 stitch gauge. I'm not working at all of the other length measurements will be in measurements, they're not being rows. So, I've got a bird in the house. It's a beautiful day, we've got the windows and doors open, but we have a bird in the house and she'd like to find some leftovers. Anyways, so you might see one fly by. Anyways, I'm gonna try not to obsess on it and clap my hands and get it to go out. It'll go out on its own. Actually, you know what, there it goes. Oh, that door's closed, you gotta go this way. This way, buddy. Anyways, okay, I'm not going to, Luna doesn't care about the birds. She cares about wild chickens out there and cats, but she doesn't care about birds. So the birds come and go and she just lays around. What good is that, huh? Anyways, so yeah, back to the Burmy basic. Okay, it's all happening. That barking was not for the bird. Anyway, so I talked about this in the last episode because I had knit the 28 stitch gauge Burmy basic. Right now I'm knitting the 24. I've done a ton of other ones over the last few years. And so I feel like I'm finally ready to start having these test knits. So we're gonna start test knitting, I believe it's the 18 stitch gauge and the 24 stitch gauge. I've got a huge number of people who are interested in it. I've developed my test knitting call out list. It's kind of massive. I'm a little bit daunted. I'm a bit worried about making everyone content. I don't think I will. So I'll do the call out. Please don't offer any more testing to go on the list. Right now it's just a bit too long. And we'll slowly work our way, probably 2 at a time, and I'll release them as I can. So this is the 24 stitch gauge. And basically it's a top down in the round sweater that has just a really lovely, really nice fit. Originally they were tapered sleeves. I'm gonna knit this one, just have it as an example with straight sleeves so that you get an idea, because the idea really is, this is your guide. It's really straightforward, and you do what you want to for your optimal fit. You know, I suggest sizes and stuff like that for lengths or dimensions. And this is where, you know, great, follow my instructions to the T, awesome, you know. But if you prefer a fuller sleeve or a longer length or, you know, a split hem, like, no problem. This is super easy, but it'll give you the guide, and then you can just kind of go nuts with you know, when you love yarn from wherever you go, you pick it up, and you always know you have a pattern for it. So that's kind of the concept. I'm psyched about that, and so we're gonna get that rolling out. So that's gonna be my real push, and it's gonna be a while, so we're gonna talk more and more about that. So I'm not really showing you much of anything except for like the neck. I am knitting this helically because there's pooling in here, and I didn't want to have sort of anything too dramatically pooled, and so that's great. I do mark my increase rows so that I can count them, because again, like I said, I really like to daydream, and so I can count the rows in between and also make sure that I've, you know, right here is telling me that this is the 7th increase round, and so for the size that I'm knitting, I know that I don't need to do any more after that. So now I'm just knitting the length to the measurement for the yoke depth, and I think within half an inch shortly be separating for sleeves. So that will develop, and you know, I'll keep you posted on this one. The Felix is lovely. I love all of La Bien-Aimé's yarn. Their colors are so good. The yarn bases themselves are so amazing. They're just such a dream to work with. So it was fun to be able to go to her event with Catherine from Brooklyn General the evening, and it was called, oh my gosh, I can't remember. It was an evening event on the Saturday night of the Rhinebeck weekend. Went to that and had a lovely time and picked this up, and I'm just thrilled to be knitting with it already. So that's really fun. So that's the project that I'm working on. That's my own design. I usually do only work on one project at a time. That's my own design. I find if I do 2 or more, it gets confusing. Working on the Burmy basic, I can totally do 2 or more, because now I'm pretty much just knitting from my patterns. I'm pretty happy with the wording and everything. We'll see how it goes with the test knitters, but I think it's pretty straightforward, and it's really edited to, there's no extra fluff. So I think that's good. So I could, in theory, do another design while I'm working on these, but at the same time, I usually, as a rule, only work on one of my own designs, which then I really, really, really love to work on other people's designs too, because you just learn so much. And while I like what I design, I also am worried that I get stuck in a rut, and I want to, you know, always grow and learn, and try different styles and techniques, and yeah, stuff that I can't even imagine coming up with, but other people do, and I'm thrilled. So one example of that, which was really blown away by when it came out, I think early December, was called the Mellow Vest by Irene Lynn. And Irene Lynn is such a spectacular designer, and everything she does is just beautiful. But this vest, I'm just going to put on the form here, the dress form. This vest was so neat because it was so nostalgic for me. It is meant to look sort of like a shearling vest. She did it in beige, beiges and browns. So it really did look like the natural shearling, where I wanted to do it in blacks. So you can kind of see a bit of the fluff here if I can get out of the light. So that's sort of the start of the shearling effect, which is then going to rim the sleeves. There'll be a small collar, and the shearling effect will rim that. There's no buttons, but the button band, and also along the hem. So I've got about 3 inches knit. I've got about 5 more inches, they say, to knit. I'll try it on and see if I like that length. But that's a really, really, really fun. Oh yeah, I think you can see it. A fun design. You can see here there's like a pearl ridge here. So that's, I believe I'm going to pick up with a crochet hook and maybe crochet more of this teddy deer from gepard yarn. So that creates that sort of the wool shearling look here, which will then come down the front and the hem and everything like that. So that's teddy bear gepard yarn, teddy deer, sorry. And I picked that in the black. And the main yarn is Cama Rose Snefnug, which I'm holding double, and so this is exactly the yarn that the pattern calls for. And I was able to pick this up at the Knitting Loft, which is just such a treat to go to if you're in the Toronto area. There's a number of knitting stores. I've only been to 2 in Toronto, and I love both of them, and it's just sort of which one I can get to. So either the Knitting Loft, which is in North York area, so just above the 401. It's spectacular. The colors are amazing. The layout is fantastic. My mom loves to go to that one because the colors and everything like that. It's just sort of a feast for the eyes. The other one that I love to go to, and I haven't taken my mom because I usually do it on the subway. It's more convenient for me because it is on the subway and it's sort of more in the area where my parents live. But I couldn't get to it this time. Anyways, that's another step for later in the podcast. And that is called Unit Toronto, and everyone has been watching, I'm sure, Claudia Quintanella's patterns in the last few years. They've been stunning, and her yarn shop is really equally stunning too. A totally different flavor. It's cozy, they're both beautifully curated. It's a bit more curated. It's a smaller selection slightly, but I mean, not that you feel limited. It's just, it's a different vibe. So between those two in Toronto is really lucky. But this trip I could only get to one. My mom was keen to see the colors. She likes it and whatever. And so I drove out to that one and was able to pick this up, which is funny. So the Knitting Loft, the colors are so beautiful. And of course I come out with black, which is kind of hilarious, but next time it'll be a colorful one. So that is that. I'm whipping along on this. Like, I just started this 3 days ago. Because it's a puzzle and it's, I'm kind of fascinated by it. I kind of can't stop. But this is also why I shouldn't, I should try to stick with monogamous knitting, because basically other things that I've been working on just sit there. Like, I know I talked to you guys about it before, but this lovely Turtle Dove 2, which I'm working on, and I love, and I can't wait to finish. So I've done everything except for the sleeves and the back hem. I ran out of yarn, and so quickly ordered, like, I've got probably 90% of one more skein left. Now I'm holding it double to get the weight. I wonder if I can take this off. Whoops, let's go in the same direction. Yeah, so this one here, I'm holding this very magical yarn, double. So that bit was definitely not gonna be enough. I had bought this, I'm pretty sure, from Unit Toronto a couple years ago. So, you know, dye lots are definitely gonna be different and whatever. So my idea was, I finished the front hem. I've got to pick up to do the back hem will be the next. And so I ordered this one. It's slightly different coloration, but I think it's fine because they're very mottled. And this is the handmaiden maiden hair in the color Stardust. So what I'll do is I'll just hold one of each. And I think it'll look fine because it's just the back hem. So it's like an isolated area, and because of the ribbing, I think even if it's a slightly different tone or shade, it's not gonna be a big deal. And likewise with the sleeves. So I'm totally fine with that. And I kind of intentionally, well, I very intentionally stopped at those points for this reason. So I love the Turtle Dove sweater. I've knit one before, and when I knit that one out of, I knit that one out of, Biche Bouche Le Gros Mohair. So that is divine. And I find that I always talk about travel sweaters, and that's a great travel sweater because it's a single strand, and super light, and it just goes with everything, and it's just the perfect travel knit because you can really just pack it into your suitcase. So that's great. So between the Burmy Basic 24, the vest, the socks, and the Turtle Dove, that's what I'm really working on. But I'm of course itching to cast on so many other things. So I'm trying not to do that because I need to wrap up some things that are hanging around, and yeah, and be not too chaotic because that's how I like it. Yeah, so that's sort of all the knitting. Personal stuff, like I said, I went to Toronto. My mum lives there in Bermuda, but she's pretty much in Canada because of medical. So I went up to help her for a week. That was good. It's, busy doing stuff with her and making sure she's got everything she needs. She's doing quite well. She's got one more treatment, and then hopefully we'll be down in Bermuda at her house here in February, so that will be great. Yeah, and then coming back to the island, Christmas in Bermuda is really wonderful. I really like it. Bermuda can be chilly, damp, rainy, kind of, it sort of brings out the Britishness of Christmas time. So it's a cozy time of the year here. We have fires going quite often when it's a cold day. The days can be damp and cold one day and really windy. We had the storm that hit the East Coast came by us here as well. So for 3 days, I wasn't here, I was in Toronto, but my husband was saying that it was really windy. I came back, you could tell the salt on the windows was pretty thick. You're just in the process of going out and washing them all off. So yeah, so you can get real gales, and it's really cozy here. So I love Christmas in Bermuda. My husband's from a really big family, so there's lots going on with that. And then all our friends and stuff too. Things that we might do differently in Bermuda for Christmas. Food is pretty similar. We do have a dish that's really famous, or really traditional, I should say. Not famous, no one else has heard of it, I'm sure. And that's called cassava pie. It's also sometimes made out of farine, so it'd be a farine pie. And that's kind of like a cake, and sometimes, but it's a savory cake with eggs, nutmeg, cassava, and then sometimes you would put in some pulled chicken in it. So that's maybe, quite standard. So that you would have with your Christmas dinner, that would be, in addition to stuffing and mashed potatoes. So, ladle on the starches, but cassava pie is a big one. And then it's great after fried, like you would sort of cornbread, very tasty. Every family does it differently. Some I think is really tasty, some not so much, but it's all, preference and tradition and stuff like that. So that's kind of one of the main dishes that is different. Otherwise, Christmas Day is the big thing for Bermuda. Christmas Eve is always fun. We always go to one party every year, which is wonderful. Old family friends, generational family friends. So that's really fun, and that's a great tradition. And Boxing Day is a big thing because, again, we're British. So Boxing Day is another holiday where we kind of, in our family, do it all again because my husband's family is so large. So that's really good. Today is December 30th. I'm going to post this on December 31st, the last day of the year. Woohoo! And we go to friends and have a lovely sit-down dinner for New Year's Eve, and we have done that for I think the last sort of 15, maybe 20 years. That's really fun, and they're incredible cooks and into fine wines and stuff like that. So it's a real treat, really lovely. So that'll be really good tomorrow night, and then and then New Year's Day we go to my husband's mom's house for ham and pea soup, and that's always fun too. So, and then I think we're gonna hibernate. But so Christmas in Bermuda, it's not cold. It's just can be chilly and damp. We have different flowers that come out at Christmas time, different things like that. So flowering aloe, which I think I'll have in one of the pictures that'll follow. There's a Christmas palm tree that has red berries around Christmas time. There's a bunch of other things, and winter in Bermuda, Christmas time in Bermuda, there's a certain smell in the air with the flowers and the blossoms and stuff like that. It's while there's not huge swings in temperature and climate, it's very I think a bird just went out. Anyways, it's very obvious, and the season becomes more and more obvious to you, and you can smell it and feel it, and just like you can anywhere else in the world, I'm sure. The change in seasons, but the change in seasons here are much more subtle, if that makes sense. But I love it, so bring it on. So and then I also want to talk about gift knits just really quickly. Gift knit. So I kind of really approach knitting in a way of like artistic expression. So I cast on what I want to and knit them, and then quite often afterwards they look like someone, so then I give those as gifts. So I know a lot of people sort of knit a sweater for someone, and I do that for my husband, and I don't do it for my son. He doesn't like sweaters. He runs hot, but I will knit a sweater for Jeff. But everyone else, it's more and it's not sort of, I don't want anyone to think of it as secondhand. It's the creative compulsion to make these things, and then so often when they're finished I think, oh, that looks so much like, or wouldn't so and so look fabulous, and then that's how they get the gifts. So I feel like as I'm listening to other people talking about their Christmas gift knitting, it's a bit different for me, and isn't that kind of neat? I think that we all do it differently, but yeah, and maybe a bit backwards. Anyway, so that's that. The New Year's coming up. So in the New Year, what's going on? So I'm hoping to get to Vogue knitting. That's around the end, I think the weekend, the 25th-ish of January. Gosh, see, I'm still stuck last year. But so a little PSA for all you ladies out there. Mammograms are important, and they're not painful, and they're not a pain in the ass. They're totally fine. I've had a lot. And in my recent mammogram, they found some very tiny, what they called initially calcifications, that got sent to the lab in Bermuda and then got sent to 2 labs in the States. And it turns out that they're, oh, here's the rain. Can you hear it? Oh my gosh, it's just, anyways, so not a big deal, but a precancerous area was highlighted. I've had, the biopsy and everything. And so I'm having surgery to have that removed. So it was supposed to be the 2nd of January, then they realized that there wasn't a radiologist on the island, which they need because it's wire guided, because it's so indistinguishable by eye, that you need to do it starting with a mammogram, and they place a wire to mark the spot, and then the surgery. So without a radiologist, that couldn't happen. So now it's booked for the 16th of January. It's pretty tight to Vogue Knitting. I'm kind of determined to go. I don't think the surgery is going to be a big deal. I'm kind of tempted. I've got a hotel room booked, and then I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm tempted to try and leave the airfare until I have the surgery and see how I feel. And then part of me is just sort of thinking, who am I kidding? I'm going to want to go anyways. And so maybe I should just book it all now. Anyway, so that's the thing. Hoping to be there. Yep. And well, kind of, but it's a bit in flux. I don't love that much. But anyways, it is what it is. But the so the lumpectomy is not a big deal. It's like stage 0 cancer. But the big takeaway from that is everyone make sure to go to your annual mammograms if you're at that stage. I've been doing it for 10 years because I have been noted when I was 38 that I was higher risk, the breast tissue, blah, blah, whatever. Anyway, so it's not scary, it's not bad, it's not a horrible experience. Don't blow it off. It's really important. And the technology is so amazing that they're catching this stuff before it's even anything. And I'm super grateful. So yeah, so I'm hoping to be there at Vogue Knitting, and yeah, we'll just play it by ear. I am also hoping to do another podcast mid-January. So I guess I'll try to do that before the 16th. And I have another exciting pattern to release mid-January, and we'll talk about some other things. I've got some ideas. Maybe that's when I'll talk about needle storage and stuff like that. But yeah, so we'll catch up then, and I will probably know for sure what the plan is with Vogue Knitting at that time. So yeah, well, I guess I won't, because I don't know. I might still be in limbo. Stay tuned. Who knows? But if you're going to Vogue and I end up going, I really hope I see you all. It's so great to run into people and chat. It's my favorite thing. Yeah, if you see me there, I hope you see me there. Say hi. I think that's it. So I'm going to leave you now. On Boxing Day, so December 26th, Luna and I went for a lovely walk, again back over to Harbour Road, because there was no traffic and there was no wind. It was just glass, and it was just absolutely beautiful. So I got some nice videos for you of that to enjoy, and have a happy new year. Luna agrees. All right, bye. Take care.